Hello and welcome to NoCast by CMUBS, the podcast where knowledge meets inspiration. I'm your host, and I'm here to take you on a journey through ideas, insights, and stories that shape the world of business, research, and innovation. Each episode, we bring you thoughtful conversations, practical wisdom, and perspectives from experts and changemakers. Whether you're a student, a researcher, or simply someone who loves learning, this is your space to explore, grow, and stay inspired. Thank you for tuning in. Let's dive into today's episode and discover something worth knowing.
You know, have you ever been in one of those brainstorming sessions where everyone's talking but nothing really clicks? We have this idea that putting a bunch of smart people in a room together is the magic formula for solving big problems. But what if that's just wrong? A really fascinating new study suggests we might have been doing teamwork backwards this whole time. Let's get into it. Okay, so it all starts with this huge, very modern mystery. All over the world, companies are making these big, bold promises to fight climate change. But, with all the talk about greenwashing, how do we, the public, investors, anyone, actually know if these pledges are real action or just really good marketing? And that brings us to our first point, this growing gap between the pledges being made and the proof we need to back them up. As more companies talk about their climate goals, the demand for some real accountability has just gone through the roof. To solve this whole thing, we need skilled climate detectives, right? Auditors who can dig into the data, check the science, and tell us what's legit and what's not. They're basically the referees in this really high-stakes game of corporate climate promises. So this brings us to the Climate Audit Challenge. It's not just about finding smart people. It's about figuring out how to make different kinds of experts actually work together in the most effective way possible. Now, the official term for this detective work is GHG assurance, and it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's like a financial audit, but instead of accountants checking dollars and cents, these teams are verifying tons of carbon. They're the ones making sure the math behind a company's green claims is accurate and reported correctly. And the study found that a winning team really needs two key players. First, you've got the assurance expert. That's our numbers detective, usually from an accounting background. And then you have the subject matter expert, our science detective, who really gets the nitty-gritty of emissions. The big question is, how do you make these two work together? And this is where it gets super interesting. The researchers wanted to find the single best way for these two different experts to collaborate. So they set up an experiment to test 3 different ways of teaming up. Okay, so first you have the interacting team. This is your classic brainstorming session. Everybody in a room, bouncing ideas around. Second is the nominal team, where the experts work totally alone at first and then pull their findings without any big discussion. And third, you've got the review team, kind of a hybrid, where one expert does their work and then the second expert reviews it and adds their own unique thoughts. So, take a second. What's your gut feeling? The classic brainstormers, the solo workers, or the review crew? Which team do you think was the best at sniffing out potential problems in a company's climate report? Well, let me tell you, the results were definitely not what most people would expect. In fact, they kind of fly in the face of one of the most common ways we try to solve problems in business today. And here are the results. If you guessed the brainstormers, you'd be in for a big surprise. The traditional interacting team, the one where everyone talked together, actually performed the worst. The most effective team, by a pretty wide margin, was the nominal team, the experts who worked alone first. The review team was a very, very close second. Let's just let that sink in for a moment. The method that most of us use, the one we're taught is the best way to solve hard problems, was the least effective. So the massive question is, why? The answer, it turns out, lies in protecting something called cognitive diversity, which is just a fancy way of saying the unique ways different experts think. See, our two detectives are trained to see the world completely differently. The numbers detective is looking for one thing: does the data follow the rules? The science detective is looking for something else. Are the scientific assumptions even correct? That's cognitive diversity. When you throw them in a room together right away, they can start to think alike, and you lose the very reason you hired 2 different experts to begin with. The researchers said it perfectly. Each expert has their own superpower. In this case, the assurance experts, the numbers people, were way better at spotting risks related to the reporting rules. Forcing them to brainstorm right away with the science expert actually watered down that superpower before they could really use it. So, what's the big lesson here? This isn't just about auditing climate reports. This is a huge insight into how to collaborate smarter, and it applies to any team tackling a complex problem, whether you're designing a new product or trying to craft public policy. So what's the game plan? For any really tough problem, let your experts think alone first. Don't jump straight into a group brainstorm. Instead, use a structured approach, like the nominal or review models from this study. Let them work on their own, then bring their findings together to discuss and review. It's a simple change, but it protects their unique strengths and makes sure you get every bit of value from their expertise. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We're always told to work together, but this research pushes us to ask a much smarter question. When is working together, but separately, the real key to unlocking the genius of a team?
Thank you for joining us on NoCast by CMUBS. We hope today's episode sparked new ideas and inspired your next steps. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow our podcast and stay connected so you won't miss the insights, stories, and meaningful discussions coming up next. Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and see you in the next episode.